Hello and welcome to your Thursday catch-up with This Is Ibrox. Tonight I'm your host, Kyran Wallace, and I couldn't be doing this by myself, so I'm joined by no other than the one and only Shug. We're also delighted to be joined by you, yourself, our wonderful listeners and viewers, so feel free to vent in the comments or send in any questions for us and we'll get to the best of them and post the best of the comments. And yeah, so let's not hang around. We've got plenty to get through. We'll look ahead to a massive away trip for Russell Martin and Rangers at St Mirren. We'll take a quick look at the transfer state of play and everything in between. But Shug, myself and Craig covered the game pretty extensively. In the post-match the other nights, we won't really talk about it too much. But just to get your overall feelings about the result and more or less feeling around the place, like what's your take on it?
I'd imagine similar to everyone else's, just feeling so negative about not only the result, because I think they were a decent team, right? They had some good players, but the performance was atrocious for me. I feel like we let Club Brugge beat us in second gear, and any talk that the second half was slightly better, I don't buy into any of that. I think it was a very disappointing night. It was coming, and we escaped what could have been a bit of a doing, to be honest with you. But yeah, very disappointed with it, and I think like anybody feeling pretty negative after that result.
Yeah, I think the hope before the game was that we could get something and take a half decent result over there. Now, the goal from Danilo on paper gives us a wee bit of hope, but in reality, and as the eye test says, I think they're a fantastic team and we're not so fantastic, and it's going to be tough over there.
Yeah, I think to come back from a two-goal deficit, if we get the first goal, you could say it changes things, but I think they'll be far too strong at home. I think we had to go over with some sort of lead. I think it'll be too much to ask to go over there, and score at least twice against them to take it the extra time.
I know, it's going to be extremely tough. Quick thoughts on the debutant, Migoma. How do you think he done?
I actually thought he done all right. Defensively, I think he struggled in the probably first half of the game, like all of them did. But I don't know if that was much his fault. He was thrown in, delivered a great cross for the goal, had a good few positive moments going forward. I don't know if he's the total solution at left back. Obviously, need to see a bit more of him, and he's not got a lot of experience. But I thought, considering all things considered, I think he done pretty well.
Yeah, he. I know there was reports, and we spoke about it in the pod, that he was the same height as Ridvan, but he's not the same height as
No.
Ridvan. But he does look a bit slight. He does look like a 19-year-old that's not played much football. I mean that in the nicest possible way. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. He looks like an athlete. He looks very quick, and hopefully develops as a good player here, because there was a lot of negativity around the signing. Just because I think people expect him to be our first choice left back. Now, I think we'll go out and sign an experienced left back, because I don't think we're going to depend on a 19-year-old to give us 60 games a season, where his experience of first team football is little to none, in fact. But let's look at Russell Martin just now. He seems to be the guy that's completely in the spotlight, and so he should be. I know that we've been back and forward. We've went back and forward since Tuesday night on the phone talking about it, and just to try and get your general feeling around Russell Martin. I know that you're not too happy with him, Shug, but at the same time, I'll double barrel the question that, is there anything he can do to turn this round and win the sort of naysayers back over?
Yeah, I think we could all see what the fans' thoughts were on Tuesday night. Really disappointing, and we just don't see where this is going. I mean, I think all of us accepted that it wasn't going to be perfect for the first, month or two. It might take time to um, really get us into a bit of form, but it has been atrocious, and there's no positive you could take from it. And I don't think anybody could turn around and tell me they can see what direction this is going in, or how it's going to magically click into gear. So I think very worried about that side of things. The reality is the only way he can turn it around is with results that will ease the pressure. He spoke about it when he came in, finding a way to win while they develop, which they've not done. Um, he needs to go and win. His next two league games are must win. Um, it's very rare in football that you see so many fans turning again. I don't want to say turning against you because everyone wants to see him succeed, right? But so many fans, really worried about how it's going, really not sure that's the right appointment. It's very tough to turn that around. The only way you can do it is get those 2 results, and then it gives them a bit of breathing space. In terms of the actual way we play, I don't think he's going to change dramatically, which worries me. I don't think he's going to magically click in. I think we are going to still take so many risks at the back. The only thing you can think is maybe we'll, bring in, a couple more players that can help him play that system. Maybe it will start to click. He needs to find the midfield mix as well. I think that's all over the place at the moment, and he needs the number 9 as well. So there's a lot to do, I think, for him to turn it round, longer term. But the here and now is you have to win no matter what you do. You have to win your next 2 league games.
Yeah, there's no longer term if he can't get results right now.
Yeah.
For me, I think the most frustrating thing is, and I'm not speaking on behalf of like all fans and stuff, I think a lot of the hysteria comes from we're looking at the other side of the city. They're very fragile at the moment. You've got their manager at war with the board at war with the manager, the fans at war with the board, and if ever there was a year that we could get closer to them, it feels like it's this one. And you would think with the momentum, with the new owners coming in and the financial backing and things looking a wee bit rosier again, the only thing at the moment that looks like it's tripping us up is what we're doing on the field. Now, for Russell Martin, for me, I don't know, I was maybe a bit emotional after the game the other night and just saying things off the top of my head. Like we had a lot of comments accusing me of not liking Russell Martin. Now, it's his system that I don't like. I do really like him as a guy, as a manager. I want him to succeed, and I think everybody would want him to succeed if it means that Rangers are successful. But that's 11 games now, and when you sit back and you assess what happens, the way I've kind of broken it down in my head is there's 3 sort of different failings. One being the defensive setup. They're set up for failure. It just seems that the amount of chances that we're giving up and the ease in which teams are cutting through is just unacceptable. The forward third or the front 3, there's no cohesion there. There's no play in the forward third, especially when teams are sitting in and they're camping in, and we don't seem to have any idea, or it feels like there's been nothing worked on in that sense, or we don't have any clue how to break the opposition down. So that needs to improve. And the third thing would be set pieces. Like, surely that's a bread and butter thing for coaches. You look the other night and you look at the points of failure from the set pieces, their second goal. Like, I said that the other night, it looks like a training ground exercise. So for me, I think I said it to you on the phone the other night that, or on a voice note, I can't remember what it was. But anyway, for me, I don't know if Russell Martin is big enough to sit back and say, right, we're 11 games in now. Results aren't going our way. We've done well to get through to where we are in the Champions League playoff, but the domestic stuff hasn't been good enough. I'm going to have to adapt this. I'm going to have to change it. And I'm going to have to set up a style that we're hard to beat because we've got bags of pace on the break. And we're going to have to sort of start winning games and start winning points by hook or by crook. Maybe park that style for a while because it's not working. Do you think a change of style would change our mind on him?
Yes and no. Like, I think if he totally scrapped everything, he's spoken about, I would worry just as much because I think, well, you got the job based on being so sure that this was the right way to play, and now here we are, middle August, and you're scrapping it and going back to basics. That would worry me in one way. But I definitely agree with you. We need to be harder to beat. We're conceding comical goals for fun, and you won't get anywhere doing that. Now, and you won't get the title. We will not win leagues. We won't win trophies if you're giving away ridiculous goals the way we are. So yeah, I do think he needs to tweak the style. I think it kind of worries me that in press conferences he just sounds as if he doesn't really see the panic. He's just telling us, yeah, it'll all come good kind of thing. And that is worrying because he's not addressing that it's actually not good enough.
Yeah. I I think I'm with you on that one. He's addressing that it'll get better, but we've got nothing to cling on to. At the moment, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. So I think, I don't know, I feel like in football, there's always a meeting of two sides. Like, the players are going to get annoyed. The manager's going to have to try and bring them back in, because don't get me wrong, I think the players love playing for them, but when they're not getting results and the fans are getting on at the team, and then it's just a recipe for disaster. You seen it the other night. A lot of guys, like, I'll just use Max Aarons. I know he thought he played well, and Russell Martin saying he played well. I don't believe that. I don't think he was great the other night. I feel that he kind of goes within himself under pressure, and like that, when players start to get like that, and he's asking why aren't we getting the best out of these players, then you've got to look to what the reason is, what's the root cause. And I just feel that the system makes them look uncomfortable and that it's not getting the best out of them. I'm gonna jump to this comment from earlier on from Matt Weirshug. Says, evening guys, I feel that we needed a full squad turnover, and that's not going to happen in one window. If Martin is going to survive, then he needs to be pragmatic until the recruitment team gets it right. Now, I've seen a lot of comments on here and on X as well, talking about how the recruitment's been really bad. I'm not so sure I agree with that. I think there has been a few failings. But do you feel like the recruitment's let them down?
I think that there are elements that have maybe you could argue have let them down. As I've said on here before, I didn't think it was going to be perfect. It was too big a turnover in too short a time for it to be perfect and to get it all done. I don't agree with the recruitment's been really poor. I think there has been some good signings. I think the squad is getting to certainly moving in the right direction. I feel that he's missing key points that doesn't help his system. A striker being the main one. We do need a front man that can do what he's asking them to do. So it's let them down in some ways, I would say, but at the same time, I'm looking back and saying, well, look, we criticise Phil Clement for not having a style of football. He was nowhere near back the way Russell Martin is. I don't think many managers have been back quite the same way that he seems to be back and continually back. So I don't think I can use that as an excuse. That being said, I think there is still, there's still quite a bit of work to be done in terms of ones that have got right and ones that have got wrong. Again, it is early days. I think the wide players, Ant-Man showed it a little bit in flashes. Gassama's definitely showing that he's a good signing. I think we've got exciting players up there. I think Asgard, Mikey Moore will be good players in and around that area. Rothwell's not really got up to speed. I think there is a player in there. I just think, one, he doesn't look quite at the fitness levels, and two, as I said, I don't think they've really found the midfield mix. I don't think they really know what they're doing, but I wouldn't say he's a bad player.
See, on that, Shug, sorry to butt in, the Rothwell stuff, me and Craig spoke the other night about how Diamonde's been terrible, Raskin's dipped as well, people aren't fancying Rothwell now. Again, do we go back to this being a system issue where it's just not getting the best out of some of our better players? Because let's be honest here, there was links from Everton to Diamande, there was links from everywhere, Aston Villa, etc., for Nico Raskin, and Rothwell has come from a Premiership team and absolutely bossed it at Leeds last year. These guys don't become poor players overnight.
Yeah, I think it is a good bit of system problem. Now, I noticed one the other night, start the second half, and it was one of the midfield, and it happened several times, but one of the midfield runners ran off Rothwell, and he just completely stopped and left him in yards of space. And nobody really adjusted to it. Rothwell never tracked his man. Suter never really dropped off or done anything. Your fullback maybe tucks in at that point. So that tells me that there's no real community. Like, they don't really know what they're meant to be doing. And that side, it's a bit all over the place. So I do think some of it is down to the system. Again, it is early days, but yeah, I think for Rothwell, I think we've all seen touches. The first few games I've seen a few touches from where I thought he can play, and he's played obviously at a good level. But as I said, one, they need to get that mix right in the midfield, and everyone needs to be on the same page. And two, I do think he does look a bit leggy. He looks to drop right out of game, after an hour maximum.
Yeah, it's we could talk about the system and stuff all day here. Like, thank you everyone for the comments. We will start getting them up. Just the other night, I see people commenting saying about like the Southampton fans warned us. When me and Craig were on the live the other night, there was like floods of comments coming in, and it was just so hard to keep up. But we actually had a Southampton fan comment and donated £10, and I think it was along the lines of, "I'm so sorry you're having to go through this. Here's some money for a few beers." So thank you very much for the kind donation. I didn't quite get the name, but if you're watching tonight or you're listening back tomorrow, it's really appreciated. Just before we move on, Shug, big question is, can he turn it round?
Well, he can, but right now, do I think he's going to? I've got to be honest and say no. Now, I would have said that's crazy to be said before. I would have said that's crazy to be said in August. But I'm just being honest. I'm not seeing anything that tells me that this team's going in the right direction. I don't think we'll be pragmatic enough that you need to be in this league to go to away, tough away venues where you just have to dig out a win. I don't think we've got that. I don't think we're, going to be built on any solid foundations. And I just don't see what we're, I'm not excited by what I'm watching, and I'm not encouraged by anything. So being completely honest, no, I don't see him turn it around. Absolutely hope he does. I think there's nothing more depressing than seeing us yet again, sack a manager. That would be, that'd be a definite negative for us that we've made another mistake. But do I see him turning it around right now? No, if I'm being honest, I don't.
Yeah, the only way I can see him turning it round is, like I said at the top of the show, if he changes certain things within that style. But like I was told by a Man United fan the other day talking about Mirren, when they appointed him and the pressure's on him, and they were asking him, will you change your style to suit or try and get the best out of the team? And what he basically said was, I was employed here. I was brought here to bring this style because it worked at Sporting Lisbon, and it kind of feels that way with Russell Martin. He was brought here for a possession-based football that I feel like we were sold, which we aren't really getting, to be honest. You think back to Gerrard as well, Shug, although it's not really in the same bracket as the type of football, but he got so far after about a year and a half, and it didn't really work. It didn't click consistently. And I can remember back to, was it the game, Tavernier scored the free kick around about the first minute, and then the wee one where Defoe stepped over and Arfield slid in, the 2-0. We went 4-3-2-1 that game. The system changed, the tactics changed, everybody bought into it. And see, from that point on, that's where that was the foundations to go on and win 55, because we built the team around that 4-3-2-1, where previously the flat 4-3-3 wasn't working. So that shows that it can happen and it can work, and better things can come if you change what you're doing and you're a good enough manager to sort of cut your losses at some point and just say, look, what I'm doing just now isn't the answer. I need to find new answers to all the different questions I'm being hit with in Scotland. But yeah, we could talk about them all night. I think the best way to put it is the dog keeps barking and the tanker's just not quite turning. I'm working on that all day. Anyway, before we move on, thanks to everybody that's tuning in. We've got about 140 online just now. If you're watching afterwards and not quite live, and you're not a subscriber, please make sure you're clicking that button. I think the stats prove that about half of our watchers don't actually subscribe. So that is the big thing that means that we can move on with the pod and make it bigger and make it better. Right, okay, back to matters, Shug. We had a wee comment here from Not Brett May. Any transfer news? Last night it was confirmed that Jefte has moved to Palmeiras. The deal seems to be around £6.5 million, with a sell-on clause in there and bonuses included. I think that is fantastic business, Shug. I know for a fact that you were not a fan of him whatsoever. Are you glad to see him go, and are you happy with this business? Because it's good money for a player we picked up for $500,000.
Yes to both, and I don't want to be too critical. Now that he's gone, what's the point? I never thought, he wasn't a guy that came with a stinking attitude or anything. He came, he worked hard, he just wasn't suited to this league. He couldn't defend. He switched off so often. Now, I think that's great business getting away. And I still think he'll be a successful player elsewhere, because he has, he has got some attributes, and hopefully does develop into a player. So I think we have got a sell on as well. So hopefully he goes on and does well. But I think it's phenomenal business, to be honest with you, to turn them around and that space of time without really much to base it on, because I don't think his stats in terms of the simple kind of stats, the goals and assists. I think he scored maybe one deflected one towards the end of the season. I don't know if he got. I don't know if he got given the goal, but he didn't have many hit assists either. And defensively,
Danilo against Celtic 3-0 at Ibrox.
Aye. Don't get me wrong, he had a couple and he had some good performances in there, right? But I think we're all agreed that you would have bitten the hand off for that money, so it's a good deal all round.
Absolutely. And another guy that's just not worked out here that looks like he's on his way, Jose Cifuentes, has been linked with a loan move to Toronto FC. I don't know much about them. I'd bank on it being colder there than here.
I was going to say, does he realise where he's going to?
I think his weather app's broke on his phone. He, to be fair, he went out at Thessalonica last year and done well. They just couldn't come up with the money that Rangers were looking for. And fair enough, if it means we get him out on loan. Now, I know that at the end of this, there's either an option or an obligation to buy, and nobody really knows which way that goes. But probably one will be glad to get off the books eventually.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even if it's a loan, we can't just have guys sitting at the training ground, picking up big wages. I think he's played in the MLS before, so it is somewhere we could go and do pretty well on that side. So hopefully he goes away, goes on loan, and he earns a full-time move.
Yeah, and I think today the only other transfer rumour that I seen, we were linked with a 21-year-old Cameroonian Villarreal striker, Eta Young. Don't know much about him, to be honest. He's played one game and scored one goal this season. Young guy, 21 years of age, at a big club like Villarreal, right-footed. Been linked with a striker, can't be bad. Russell Martin said the other night, we've got 3 number 9s, and notice I'm not saying good here because I get a bit of paste in the comments for it. He said we have 3 number 9s as it is. Surely he's not satisfied with what we've got up top just now, so it's good to see he's linked with a striker.
Yeah, we definitely need to add in that department, and I don't know much about this guy. As I said, he's not played a lot of football, which you wouldn't think he'll be a marquee signing as a striker. Surely not. Because he's still got to be raw. If you're asking somebody to play that system and they've only played one appearance, it's not much to go on. But I don't know what he's thinking. I think it does depend on who goes out, but we definitely need to upgrade in that area. Danilo won't do as your number 9. I think we've all seen that. Doesn't give you enough. Not strong enough, doesn't hold the ball up well enough, doesn't score enough goals. I know he had a goal during the week, but he didn't do enough. Dessers, we've spoke to him to death on here, and Egerman has got some raw ability, but you don't know what's happening with him. So yeah, I think it's all kind of up in the air, which I was hoping it would be resolved on the striker front by now, but I think that's going to go right down to the wire. But yeah, I think it's good news that we're starting to get linked again, because we've seen us missing out or seem to miss out on a few targets there.
Yeah, and watch me link this here, right? We've got Sid in the comments from Toronto who's saying start Hamza versus St Mirren. Would you be starting Hamza Egerman against St Mirren, given, I'm trying to think, given the stature of the game already this early in the season, and what changes would you like to see for the game?
I would. I mean, there's a force change obviously at the back. I would start Egerman. I'd drop Diomande out, and I would play an Asgard or a Mikey Moore in that position, or even a Lyle Cameron, somebody more attacking in the 3 in the midfield. So that's the main change I would make. In terms of the back, I'd keep the rest. I'd be tempted to put Tav back in at right back. I don't think Adams was great, to be honest. I think Tav, as much as we criticise, as much as we feel it's maybe the time for him to move on, he's the best right back at the club right now for me. So I'd probably bring him back in. You've got Suter, and it'll be Fernandez playing centre back, you'd imagine. I forget his name, but the new left back.
Mufloma.
Yeah. I keep going to call Megadon or something like that. So I think he'll be in at left back. As the midfield three, Rothwell, Raskin, and probably Asgard. And front three, I think he'll be Iggerman going through the middle, Ant-Man and Gassama out wide.
Yeah, he needs to learn the magnitude of this game. He said at the top of the show that he needs to win the next 2 games. Now, it's easy enough saying that, but when it's St Mirren that turned us over, was it twice last year, 3 times? I forget. Yeah. I know that it definitely twice. And then we're up against Celtic the week after that. Coming into a game with so many new signings that haven't played in an Old Firm before and been expected to try and turn them over in the manager's first Old Firm game with a style that hasn't been working. It's no wonder that the fans are fearful of how that game could turn out. But let's not kid ourselves. They've got their own problems. I'm more worried about St Mirren at the moment. So one game first. We comment there from Luke Gibson. Start Fernandez for his height. I think Shug's just reminded us that Giga's suspended for this one. So very good chance that he will start there. So yeah, looking ahead to St Mirren, must win. I think I would probably change it up in the middle. I'd keep Raskin as the 6 Shug. If it's me, I would change his style. I would go with 2 sitting midfielders with a 10 ahead and an Asgard, a lockpick or something like that there. But 100% Iggerman needs to start. We need to get him all firing because the next 3 games, including Bruges, you're going to want to try and get something for it. And I think if we're to stand any chance whatsoever against Bruges, Iggerman has got to be fit to play at least the first 60 minutes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we won't hang about too much longer here. We're only on for 30 minutes on a Tuesday and Thursday night. I think everyone knows by now, Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, 7:30 start with us. Please make sure you're subscribing and please make sure if you're listening tomorrow or afterwards on your podcast platforms that you're making sure you're following us so that you're getting your notifications. Anyway, Shug, give me a wee score prediction for Sunday.
I'm going to go, we're going to scrape a 2-1 win with a 94th minute winner.
A penalty in there somewhere.
That would be fine with me. Get any sort of win out of that game. Just get 3 points to the boat and get out there.
Yeah, I'm just looking here. We've got a comment from Mark Doyle reminding us that September we've got Livingston followed by Aberdeen, followed by Hibs, and then plus Hibs in the Cup and Dundee United. That is some run of fixtures, but we've got to start hitting the ground. We've got to turn at some point, and yeah, fingers crossed. So I will go the weekend 3-1 win, and we'll never be more back than that.
Last ball with that.
We've got Stephen Foy in the comments saying it'll be 2-1 to St Mirren. I think you can have yourself a ban for that. I'm only kidding, Stephen. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you everybody who's commented, especially the nice comments, not so much the bad ones. And thanks for everyone for watching and tuning in. Good night.